Hello, everybody. Welcome along to your Monday night Rangers Rabble podcast. I literally just finished eating my dinner there, which is quite handy. Yeah, hello, welcome. Hope you're all well. Plenty to talk about on your Monday night. It's so unprofessional, isn't it? Just getting that last bit of chicken pakora down there. I am joined tonight by Wilf. Wilf, how are you?
I'm very well, Martin. Thank you.
I was kind of hoping you would string that.
I'll string it out if you want, no problem. Yeah, I'm fine. Not long home from a cracking weekend. Couple of nights in the fatherland. That'll make you choke on your coke there. Calling it that. Over in Germany, obviously for the Hoffenheim game, which was we'll get onto the game, I'm sure. And then I stayed with my mates in Glasgow last night and had the pleasure of visiting the new Rangers Club Museum this morning. And again, we'll go on to that as well, I'd imagine.
Yes, we shall. Absolutely, 100%. I'm also joined by Iain. How are you?
Yeah, I was waiting for that bit. I was just waiting for the how are you? I didn't know if you were going to add that bit in.
Yeah, I'm not going to lie to you, right? I've got bits of chicken stuck in my teeth and it's really putting me off.
No, I am all good, mate. Had my dinner ages ago, so I'm food clear. Yeah, all good. All good and looking forward to this.
And Alan, how are you?
I'm very good, mate. Thanks for asking. I just threw my dinner down as well, but got there just in time.
Listen, I say I've just finished my dinner, right? That's just a total lie. My dinner just arrived, and I just grabbed 2 bits of chicken pakora and rammed them down my throat. So there's a joke in there somewhere, probably. Plenty to talk about, loads to talk about. No doubt we'll go not back over, but we'll take little incidents from the Hoffenheim game. Obviously, we've got a wee bit of conversation that we had around the women's team, around winning the Glasgow Cup final. Of course, the museum as well, and the Cifuentes deal is finally almost just about done. So I'm sure we'll come on and discuss that as well. But if you were at the museum today, for people who haven't been yet, all the stories around it being too small, there was a bit of negativity, seemed to have been quashed. Everybody that I've seen online who have been to it seemed extremely, extremely happy. What was your thoughts on it?
It's something I've waited probably as long as I can remember. I've waited for Rangers to have a museum as long as I've known what a museum is and that football clubs had them. And they certainly haven't let me down. They haven't disappointed. I was worried the space was too small. I had been told, as you had, by staff in the club, look, this space is probably going to be too small. And they've laid it out absolutely magnificent. You wouldn't know it was a compact space, if you want to put it that way. It's very, very well laid out. It's fantastic. When you walk in, there's almost every bit of space is used up. There's even obviously there's a few photos kicking about today online, and I noticed one somebody put a photo of. As you walk in, you see a model of the main stand. I believe it was the actual architect's model, which he went to Rangers and said, "Look, this is what I've designed. This is how the main stand's going to look." It's the actual original one from the mid 1920s, because I knew they'd found it and they were getting it refurbished because they found it in a cupboard somewhere. And it's in a case, and underneath the case there's two or three drawers. And somebody took a photo with one of the drawers slightly open, and I saw a comment I think it was on a Twitter post saying, an X post, as Twitter's not a thing anymore, that I'm a bit concerned that one of those drawers is open. The reason the drawer was open, there's actually old minute books in those drawers, so that's part of the exhibition as well. So they've utilised every bit of space they've got. It's really, really well put together. It takes you through in chronological order. The club, it's got a manager's wall. It's got players. There's even a little dribbling thing you can do for the kids, which we had the shot of, and even after 30 seconds of it, I was knackered. It's really well put together. It's worth a tenner of anybody's money. But I would recommend if you're in and around the Glasgow area, try and avoid it on a match day, because it's going to be really busy and you won't get the full experience. Try and go in there when it's going to be a bit quieter, because you do need time to take it all in. The stuff that's in there, it ranges from scarves, which were donated by supporters, to medals, which donated by players and players' families. There's trophies. There's all sorts of stuff. I can't speak highly enough of it. It's well worth a tenner of anybody's money. Professional as ever, Martin. You might want to come off mute.
I mean, that is shocking, mate. See, that's the food. The food's got to me. I'm gone. Wilf, just take over, mate. I'm going to go and have my dinner. But CGM, it might come as a shock to you all that I like a moan. Never. I thought the prices for the museum and tours were a bit on the steep side. Alan, £11 to get into the museum for me, I think that's really, really good value.
I think it's great value. Considering this could have been an opportunity or another opportunity for Rangers to make a pretty penny, because they know that people have been waiting for this as long as Wilf has, and I don't think Kennedy's been waiting on it any longer than Wilf. But as long as we've spoke about Rangers, we've spoke about wanting a museum, needing a museum for everything that we've got, and for the story of the club. So they knew the fans were interested in this. They knew that this could have been a great opportunity to make money. I was just looking at some of the merchandise there as well. Quite rightly so. People are going to people might want a momentum of it, particularly tourists, because it will attract tourists as well. Wilf's probably went home with a carload of stuff. So, and I probably will as well when I go. So yeah, I think it's been really reasonable with the club. They've kept the sensible head on. They're aware that this is something that I think it indicates the fact that the club belongs to us. The club would be nothing without supporters, and the club have decided not to take the opportunity to rinse the fans of £25-30 admissions, as it could quite easily have done, and as for other clubs that have got museums as well across the continent, and they've taken the opportunity to keep the ticket prices low. And let us go in and see what belongs to us, the heritage of the club, the history of the club. Because without people like us and the people in the comments and the hundreds of thousands of Rangers supporters all over the world, Glasgow Rangers Football Club wouldn't be where it is today. It wouldn't be what it is today. We make it, and I think the club have recognised that and keeping the prices so low.
Yeah, I agree. And Iain, Alan touches on it there. It kind of brings us up to date with the rest of the football world. It's something that we've been screaming for years. Obviously, events in the not so distant past have meant that probably this was the earliest opportunity we could have to get it. But along with the new Edmiston House, we seem to be moving in the right direction, and I think the board specifically deserve a pat on the back for it.
Yeah, definitely. I mean, I've been hearing about museums and whatnot since I was going to the games when I was a teenager with my dad. So to finally have it is amazing. And for people like me, I mean, it's open for everybody, but for people like, oh my Lord, who wants to see that? For people like me who have got to travel, and it's like Stu and Craig as well, we come down from the southern end of England. It's something massive to be able to have something to do before a game or while we're up there. Obviously, as Will says, probably not go on match day because it'll be stowed. So the prices wise, £11, I think, but if you combine it with the stadium tours, it's like £17 or something like that. That's not bad. And as like Claire said it in the Daily Rabble, my Jazz members get a 15% discount as well. So there's money off. So it's not £11, but a lot of people are getting rid of my Jazz, so you might have lost that. Wilf looks like he wants to jump in.
I don't think you get discount. You get discount as a My Jazz member in the cafe. That was Kerr's point in New Edmiston House. I don't think you get off the tours. I mean, it's not 11. It's £11.50 if you're booking it online because you've got the obligatory £150 booking fee. I've got an issue with the booking fee, but every ticket and thing you buy has got a booking fee on it these days, so there's nothing you can do about that, right? The bulk standard admission price is £10 for the museum, right? I'm pretty sure you can just walk up and pay your £10 and go in, but you're taking the chance that there's no spaces available. Because obviously, they can't just fill it with bodies because you need to be able to walk about in it. Otherwise, it's pointless. You'll not see anything. And I mean, people are saying that it's a bit expensive. It's how you perceive it. I don't think it is. I mean, I'm looking at the prices here. Stadium tour is £17. The museums are tenner. And the combined museum and stadium tour, which is what most people visiting the city would do, is £23.50. I mean, I think that's tremendous. Absolutely tremendous. I mean, your family tour of the stadium and the museum, which is 2 adults and 2 kids, is £60. You know what I mean? That's £15 each for each of 4 people. Guaranteed 2 of them are under 16 to visit our magnificent stadium and the new museum. And I mean, bear in mind, the museum's all interactive. I mean, I know there is other museums in Scottish football that are free to enter, as my missus was very quick to tell me when I got home. But it's a room you walk around and there's stuff in cabinets with wee stories attached to them. You know, the Rangers Museum's got TVs all over the place. It's got this running videos. You can hear stories, and it's very, very modern. I think it's an absolute steal at a tenner to visit, to be perfectly honest. But if people think that's too much, then fair enough. People think that's too much.
But they can rotate the stuff as well. That don't worry, that not everything that's in that museum is everything that we've got. We can rotate stuff in and out all the time. That museum will change constantly throughout a season, let alone over the time it's going to be there. So,
well, yeah, that's sorry, Ian, to cut across you. That's the whole point of it. I mean, they've always said that in what I always considered the jewel in our crown, which is a trophy room in the main stand, they had something like 10% of the trophies and artifacts that we've got. They've now added some of that stuff into the museum. That's less than 20% of the trophies and gifts that Rangers have as a club on display that people can see either doing the tour or going to the museum. So there's so much, as you say, there's so much stuff. I mean, I've spoke to the curator on a number of occasions just when I've been kicking about the shop or whatever, and he's been there. And they just keep constantly finding stuff. I mean, it's taken him 5 years to catalogue everything that we've got because it was never done before. They just keep finding stuff in cupboards and in drawers. You know what I mean? I mean, they found... I mean, I was personally sure I was at Ibrox for something, and I was talking to the Joe, the curator, and he says, "Come here, I want to show you this." And he actually found Tory Gillick's passport from when he was playing with Rangers and travelling into Europe back in Tory Gillick's day. Stuff like that. Stuff like that's absolutely priceless. And the will rotate stuff like that in and out. The history of our club it's well told by the Founders Trail, right? It's very well told by them, right? But then this museum's just going to add to it. And I would imagine that the museum tour will probably become an add-on to the Founders Tour, because you obviously do the Founders Trail, you do the museum, you do the stadium tour. I would imagine that's now going to finish with the museum tour. And it is. If you're interested at all in the history of our club or the history of football, it's an absolute no-brainer. And I'm sorry, it might upset a few people in here. I think a tenner's an absolute steal.
It is an absolute steal. It is. Moving on, just quickly, Caroline, listen to Clyde SSB for 10 minutes. That was more than enough for me. You don't need Clyde SSB anymore. It was supposed to be returning on Friday, but it won't be Friday. It'll be Monday. A week today, the Rangers Rabble phone-in will be back every Monday and Friday from next week until the end of, I was going to say time, but that's just not true, till the end of the season. 7:30 Monday, 7:30 Friday. The phone-in will be back where you can get your calls in and we can talk about all things Rangers.
Sorry, Martin, before we go off the museum, I've noticed a few comments about the time it takes to do the tour and stuff like that. And Brian's desperate to find out because he's just messaged me and said, "How long does it take?" It takes as long as you want it to. I mean, if you just want a quick look around and walk through, you're doing 15 minutes. But if you want to take it all in, you could be there all day. So Caroline's asking, is there a time limit? Not that I'm aware of, because nobody rushed us through it, and we were in the first group of people in this morning because they sold the tickets in hourly slots. But we stayed just under an hour, just because I didn't want to get in people's way, because I'm quite conscious of doing things like that. But as far as I know, there is no time limit. If you've only got 20 minutes, you'll see stuff. If you've got 2 hours, you'll see more. Simple as that. Good.
And no doubt, as we find out more when we're on these pods, then we'll let everybody know. Alan, you've been sitting there awfully quiet, so I thought I'll bring the next point straight to you. Cifuentes has been widely reported that the deal is done. We're just waiting basically on him to be announced. Another was that the 9th player that we'll have brought in now under Michael Beale. Good move.
Absolutely. Again, it's difficult to comment too much on him because he's not somebody that any of us will have probably watched week in, week out. But it certainly comes with with a good reputation. It looks like he could slot into our midfield pretty well, but after the last couple of pre-season friendlies, you look like you could slot into our midfield pretty well, Martin.
Have you ever seen me try to get out my car? I'm slotting into no midfield.
I'm hoping that it's going to be a step up in improvement, as every signing should be. Every signing should be there to improve going forward. Once this is completed, you should say this will be the 9th signing of the summer. I think the law averages say they're not going to be superstars for Rangers. They're not going to be players that we want to keep for years and years to come. That's facts. That's simple mathematics. So you don't know which ones are going to be. I'm sure some people are starting to form opinions based on some of the pre-season performances, and I get that. But I think Cifuentes could be one of those players that we're going to want to keep for a long, long time, particularly the fact that he's going to come into that midfield and probably replace a couple of players that have been there for a long, long time. So I think it's a good move for us. We've signed a lot of attacking players, a lot of forward-thinking players. I think somebody now for the middle of the pitch is probably going to be a good move for us. It lets us know that Beale's looking at the entire team, and hopefully now we can start to, once that's over the line, once the scarf's above his head, we can start to concentrate on the back line, because that's causing a lot of concern at the minute. But yeah, definitely a good move for us, and I'm glad it's going to get done. There's nothing worse than, okay, he's going to come in January anyway, I think it is. But let's just pay the money and get him in now. If we really want this guy in our team, let's just make an agreement for the fee. It's not going to break the bank, I would imagine, and get him in and get him part of the first team and involved. And because that signing, that might be the signing that makes a difference for us in European qualifiers or in Champions League group stages if we're fortunate enough to get there. And it might make a big difference for us if we're going to be playing European football beyond Christmas. So let's take the gamble and get it done now.
Has pre-season, Iain, shown that position in our midfield we desperately need? We have Lundstrom, we have, but we don't have Kamara. We've also got Ryan Jack and Raskin, who can play that sort of defensive midfield position. But has our performances in pre-season shown that we couldn't really afford to wait until January to get him in?
Yes, it has. Quite worryingly, not worryingly, but everyone's been on Lundstrom's back. I think the Hoffenheim game was probably his best game in pre-season. He looked quite comfortable sitting in that position and doing that, and then dropping into the back four where we did the nightmare scenario from last season of having two centre mids at centre back. That is a problem position in the pitch, even though Raskin's there, but Raskin does like to get forward. Jack's there, but is Jack reliable enough fitness-wise to stay there the course of a full season? Probably not. So getting Cifuentes in is a must, and getting them in now, obviously, clearly, Bill thinks the same, because the easy option was to wait to Christmas. I think Wilf said it before. It's something that the board have done previous, not this board, but previous boards have taken the easy option and waited till Christmas. So I think it's a good idea to get him in and get him in now, because the stronger we are going, the earlier we're stronger, the better it is going forward for the season.
So, excuse me, I'm not going to sit here and pretend that I know hunters about him, Wilf, because that would just be a lie. But on the little bit of background checks that I've done, it would appear that his best position is sitting not quite at the base of the midfield, but in the centre of the midfield, breaking up play. But one of his biggest attributes is through balls and passing. So what are we getting with Jose Cifuentes? Are we getting a sitting midfielder, or are we getting another person who's quite similar to Raskin?
Well, I always like to believe that he's a box-to-box midfielder, so I don't really know what he is, because I haven't seen him kick a ball, so I need to reserve judgment till he gets here. But then when we're told that John Lundstrom was a box-to-box midfielder, that's one thing he certainly isn't. Although, as Iain rightly says, he did well on Saturday when he dropped into the back four second half. I had the fear when I realised what they were doing second half, but he got in. He was fine in there. So, I mean, the manager certainly wants this guy. He's chased him for long enough, so we've got to trust him. If he's a ball playing midfield player that can pick out a pass, he sounds quite similar to Raskin to me. So I don't really know. You know, I would imagine that Cifuentes will come in possibly as a replacement for Jack or to rotate with Jack, because Ryan Jack, obviously we all know his body's not capable of, you know, playing 2-3 games a week, because that's just the way Ryan Jack is, unfortunately. You know, but yeah, I mean, as I say, hopefully Cifuentes comes in this week. On the subject of signings, I'm still a little bit worried that we're going to sign Danilo, because I know I've seen him because he came off the bench on Saturday. I've still not seen the scarf above the head picture, so unless I've missed it, I don't even know if we've signed him, despite the fact I've seen him play. You know, because what was it that Sam Lammer said when he came in? I think it was Lammer saying it's not a signing until the scarf's above the head.
No, it was Dessers.
Was it Dessers? I haven't seen the scarf above the head with Danilo, so you know what I mean, I don't know, have we actually signed the guy?
Well, I would hope so. Otherwise, we've broke all sorts of rules by playing him.
Well, we haven't because it was a friendly, so it wouldn't really matter. But you know what I mean. But yeah, hopefully Cifuentes is supposed to be coming in midweek. There's a bit of contention about whether he's had his medical, he's having his medical, but everything seems to be done. I believe that he's probably going to cost us just into 7 figures, but he's valued at an awful lot more than that.
12 million.
Yep. So that's a decent bit of business, because even if it doesn't work, and they won't all work, even if it doesn't work come January or the summer or whenever we decide that hasn't worked, we'll certainly make money on him, which ultimately is what we need to do at the end of the day. Hopefully not for a few seasons yet, right enough. But I'll also be interested to see the length of contract when we bring him in, because it's noticeable that Danilo will come in on a 5-year deal.
Did he come in a 5-year deal though? Did he?
Did he come in at all? Indeed.
Well.
So where's that scarf photo? The rest of them have come in on 4-year deals. So I'll be interested to see what we bring Cifuentes in on.
It'll be also interesting to see, Alan, what type of player that he is, because again, I don't watch the MLS, right? You know, sue me, I don't watch it. But like I says to Wilf, you know, his strengths are key passing, dribbling, through balls, and his style of play as he likes to dribble, which seems to me exactly the player that Nicholas Raskin is. So how's that midfield shaping up then with Cifuentes coming in?
It's interesting. I think it really depends on who the opponent is and what the stage is. You know, you could potentially play with both of them and really, you know, go at teams through the middle of the park. And, you know, at times throughout pre-season, I think it's looked like we've maybe lacked a little bit of width. So that might be the game plan. That might be, you know, attack teams by running at them, playing through them. So it might be a case that we play with both Raskin and Cifuentes. You know, it's possible, but then again, when you're playing in Europe, you might want to sit back with 2 deeper line midfielders. So you might want to play, probably be Jack and Lundstrom, I think, just off the top of my head, if Kamara's going to be going. Jack would probably make up, if you were going to play with Raskin and Cifuentes, Jack would probably make up that midfield 3 anyway, because he's the one that will sit back and cover for the full-back still that we get forward, hopefully. You know, if we're going to continue in that trend that we've done in the last couple of years. So, you know, so we've got options there. We can debate all day about the quality of the options, some of the options I just mentioned. But it's, I think the options are there. As I say, just you can debate about the quality of the options, who we should bring in, who we should let go, who we need to try and keep. But that certainly it gives us that potential to play that way and we'll have a little bit less width. Again, in Scottish football, certainly in Rangers, we're used to seeing our teams attacking, and we're used to seeing Rangers attacking with people out wide and getting crosses into the box. But, you know, football moves on, and we see this quite a lot now where there's not a lot of width in some teams. So it might be the tactics and the approach that Michael Beale's trying to take with this Rangers team. Only time will tell. I'm not going to lie, in the pre-season friendlies, I think I've struggled to try and pinpoint the shape and the movement going forward and what the tactics are. But hopefully, if that comes together, then and that's what it is, then it would make sense based on the players that he's signed and the players that he's willing to let go as well.
Yeah, we're going to have a wee discussion around pre-season, how it's went. Well, see how I said that? My dogs went mental. But well, this is again just showing, you know, the strength and depth that we have now. We're talking about having a midfield free of Cifuentes, Raskin and Cantwell. You could flip it and have Jack, Dowell and Lawrence in there. So the manager now, with all these signings, and I'm sure there's a few more to come in, the manager has a lot of options.
Yeah, he's got what we've been lacking. We've been lacking strength and depth. I mean, we were saying most of last season that our starting 11 was comparable with any other starting 11 that we were up against in the league. The problem was the bench was too weak. We were lowering the standard in the team with what we had to bring on, which was partly due to suspensions and injuries and stuff like that. But it was squad depth really. We've now got, as you've just highlighted, Martin, we could basically take out the entire midfield and replace it with an entire midfield that could play the same way and of equal quality. You know, that's what we've been missing. We've got, when they brought in the 5 substitutes during COVID and decided to keep it, we thought that's going to do us a great favour because we're going to have stronger squads than everybody else. And it turns out we haven't had a stronger squad. You know, we're not bringing in the quality to replace the quality that's there. We can do that now with the squad he's brought in. I mean, we're basically a couple of signings off replacing the entire team. On paper, theoretically, but we're obviously not going to do that. But the strength and depth was very, very important. And that's what he's done. He's addressed that. I mean, looking at the way it's been since Michael Beale came in November, you know, he kind of sorted out the games against the also-rans in the league, but he struggled in the bigger games because it was the personnel he had in. He couldn't change them for similar standard of player if it wasn't going well. He couldn't really change the system because he didn't have the players to do that. It was same mistakes from the same players because he couldn't really replace them because he didn't have the squad depth. He's now got the squad, so we've got no excuse. And we just have to hope the gel. I mean, I think they've struggled a bit pre-season. The games haven't been great. The performances haven't been great, but pre-season's all about getting fitness into legs and getting players used to each other. I don't think the first 2 or 3 games are going to be pretty, but as long as we win them, that's all that really matters. And it will take time, but the squad's definitely now there, and it's very, very exciting times ahead. And while you take your mute button off, I'll say, yeah, John, it was lovely to meet you and Margaret in Hoffenheim as well.
That's twice I've done that. I always have a go at people for doing that. That's shocking behaviour. I forgot to do it, so I will do it now. Please like and subscribe if you haven't already. The last I checked, we were 90 away from 8,000 subscribers on YouTube, so please do if you are watching and you haven't already and you enjoy, hit the like button and subscribe, or if you don't like it, hit the thumbs down button, hit the dislike button, but still subscribe anyway. Why not? Iain, your thoughts on what we were talking about, because I've completely lost my train of thought with the mute button.
So more like pre-season and going forward and what we're going to do and all that sort of stuff.
It's pre-season for us as well, by the way. Can we just get that?
Yeah, still getting our fitness up. And pre-season,
I remember. Oh, so I remember Iain. There we go. Kamara.
Oh yeah.
Yes, it would appear from reports, and again, I haven't checked this. I've just seen it fleetingly on social media that Kamara's actually training on his own. There was reports, obviously, throughout the full of the end of last season, throughout the full of the close season and pre-season that he's leaving the club. If it is the case that he's training on his own, is it a sad way for him to go?
It is a sad way for him to go because you'd like him to be involved with the group. I mean, I don't think he's causing any issues and trying to force his way out or anything like that. I think Kamara, he seems like a nice enough fella, but obviously he had a bit of extra time off due to international duties. I believe he had a bit of illness as well, which delayed him coming back a little bit. But yeah, I mean, training on his own, whether that's he's decided that or whether the management team's decided that, it is a sad way to end what overall will, in all honesty, be remembered as quite a decent Rangers career. All right, he's not really done much in the last 18 months, but he won a league with us, he won a Scottish Cup with us, and he was pretty big part of getting to the Europa League final. So again, it's one of those, once he's gone, we'll look back on him and it'll be fond memories. It's just not the way I'd like to see him go out, personally. I'd like him to be fully up with it, with everybody, and then leave, which he will anyway, with everybody's best wishes, but just as part of the squad.
I know, and look, maybe Alan, maybe it's not a big deal. Maybe it's just what happens. Maybe there's other reasons behind it. But it's not nice to hear of and I don't think it's an issue with Michael Beale, the player. It's just a strange way, I think, for his Rangers career to end.
I don't think it is actually. I think if looking at Michael Beale's comments, as Iain mentioned, he got a little bit extra time off after international duty, and he had an illness as well that he's came through. A bit of illness as well that he's came through. So the actual fact is that he's weeks behind the rest of the squad as it is anyway in terms of fitness. So to throw him in to the first team right away and the first team training right away would probably be dangerous for Glenn Kamara, which would be unfair to the rest of the players round about him. It would be unfair to him as well, whether he was staying at Rangers or whether he was moving on. So I wasn't surprised to see that he's training on his own. I think it's more to do with the fact of where he is in his terms of fitness than it is to do with the fact that he's an outcast, for lack of a better phrase. Do I think he's going to go? Yeah, he's going to go. He'll be away, probably in the next week or so, I would imagine. I think all these rumours are starting to gather pace, and once they start to gather pace, it tells us that there's going to be a conclusion sooner rather than later. So, yeah, I'm the same. £50,000 for a player of the quality that we got. I'd like to have seen more trophies and more medals, but still to be part of a championship winning side, to win a Scottish Cup, to have the incredible run in Europe that Glenn was a massive part of in 2022. Has been a great career, and we'll remember him for that. We'll probably remember a lot of the players for that squad for those very same reasons. So he goes with our best wishes. I don't think it's a strange way for him to go. I just think it's the nature of his situation. It may be, if it does drag out for weeks, he may end up back training with the first team to help his recovery and get him back up to full fitness, to assist him in finding a new club. But I'm not shocked by it. I'm not surprised by it. And I just think now, probably for the player's sake, the sooner that it's resolved and he signs for his new club, whatever that may be, and he gets on with his career, probably the better for him as well. And good luck to him.
If you've got anything to add, Wilf, then feel free. If not, we'll move on to the pre-season recap.
Move on to the pre-season recap.
I thought you might say that.
Do we need to?
Yes. Before we do the I say recap. It's more talking about the players and the manager, not the individual games. But we'll nick back to the Hoffenheim game quickly, Wilf. I hate saying this because at the time I was raging and I was angry with that first half performance. And then in the second half, we done a wee bit better, but I was still raging and angry, so I couldn't look at the positives from it. I know that loads of people say you can't take much from pre-season, don't overreact. People are getting their fitness, the players are trying to gel and learn how to play together and all that. I get all that. But we were so poor in that first half. And I'm not talking about, finding passages of play where we're all trying to link up. It was 5-yard passes. It was the simple stuff that we just didn't do, and we looked so off the pace.
Oh, well, we're awful. I mean, it started in the first minute when the captain tried to trap a ball and it rolled under his foot. That was the start of it. It didn't get any better, and he wasn't alone. I mean, it was dreadful. I had no idea what we were trying to do in the first half, and we were lucky it was only 2-0 at half time. I mean, I put on my social media just at half time another 45 minutes where we haven't bothered a goalkeeper. I mean, the keeper had absolutely nothing. I think he had one very weak shot to stop in the first half, which is ridiculous. And yet again, we've been involved in a game where it's a penalty that's got us back into it. And after we scored, we looked like a different team. And whether it was or wasn't a penalty,
but at the same time, they
but
had made 7 changes, Wilf.
Yeah, that's why you can't read anything into pre-season, because I've got no idea whether they started with a strong team and brought on a bunch of kids, or started with kids and brought on a strong. I don't know anything about Hoffenheim. I know nothing about them. They're a bulk standard mid-table Bundesliga team, which means they have to be decent. Because if you're not decent, you don't stay in the Bundesliga, right? They maybe always just flirt around the middle of the table. But if they were bad, they'd end up at the bottom, and they'd end up in the Zweite Bundesliga. So I mean, you've got teams like Hamburg who look decent against us. They can't get out of the second division. So Hoffenheim must have something about them. Similarly, Olympiacos, who we played last week, Michael Beale admitted after he wanted the players to go in tired. He worked them hard in training. I really hope we see the fruits of that as the season goes on. And I don't think it's an accident that we don't have a game this week up till Saturday. So they've got a complete week to recover, a complete week to work on things, to work on shape, to do, to watch the players load so they don't overdo them. I think it wouldn't surprise me at all to find out the players are a couple of days off at the start of this week because they have been working so hard and then get right into it for Saturday. So hopefully they're doing it the right way. I'm not convinced it's been a decent pre-season because the football's not been great to watch. But the proof of the pudding's in what happens on Saturday. And as I said 5 or 10 minutes ago, the early performances aren't going to be good. It's the results that matter. And hopefully come the first international break, early September, we've got 4 wins out of 4 in the league. We've beat Morton in the League Cup and we're in the Champions League. And that's a good start to the season.
I mean, look, Ian, if we come out and, like Will says, we beat Kilmarnock, we qualify in Europe and we beat Morton, which we'll come on to in a while because I'm getting a bit fed up with us constantly getting home draws. I think, we need to stop. We need to stop this. It's atrocious. It's atrocious.
We need to have a word with the Masons.
We keep getting away with it. We keep getting away with it.
My manager agrees.
It's a bad look for us. We don't have any money, but we've got all this money to pay loads of people off to help us out. I don't get it. But yeah, if we have a really good start to the season, Ian, nobody even thinks about pre-season. But as we have not started there yet, and as it is all fresh in our memories, I suppose it is a little bit worrying that we still don't really know the style of play that we're going to adopt. But at the same time, my head's also going, well, you've signed 8, now 9 new players. What do you expect from a group of players that don't know each other? So, Ian, put my mind at ease.
I can't really. What I can say is that from the Newcastle and Hamburg game, I wasn't expecting much in the way of performance. It was just fitness. The result didn't really matter. It was just enjoying having football back on the TV and all that sort of stuff for me. Olympiacos, I wanted to see a little bit more. Was disappointed with the game, and the fact that the next game they played was actually down here in Norwich and they got beat 2-0 was even worse for me. So I've got a bunch of Norwich City supporters on my back now going, "Oh crap, you can even beat Olympiacos." And then I said on the pod before Hoffenheim that for that I wanted to see a performance, and then the first half I didn't get it. They were awful first half. I didn't even get to see it live, so I had to watch it back later after you'd all seen it. But the second half, I was a little bit more okay. There's something there. They were a lot better second half. The passing seemed a bit more crisper. They went at it. They were closing down in points. Yeah, okay. Hoffenheim made 7 substitutions and we got back into the game. But again, when we win and teams make a bunch of substitutions, go, wow, they made so many substitutions, half their team was gone by then, But in the reverse, if we get beat and we make a whole bunch of substitutions, nobody gives us that. Well, you did make 7 substitutions. So I don't really go in for that 7 substitutions thing. You can only beat what's in front of you. And second half, that's what we did. We won the second half. They won the first half. But come Saturday, 5:15, if he goes in and we smash Kilmarnock 4-0, even then, from that point on, they forget about pre-season and we're 4-0 up and that's it. League's on, let's do it.
Has it been a case, Al, and we're going to come to the defence, right? Because I know that's what everybody in the comments wants us to talk about, right? I get that. We're going to come to that. But has it been a case, possibly, that the manager's focused a lot more on fitness than maybe has so much a style of play as of yet? Or do you think it's been a bit of both? Because most of the talk coming out of Rangers has been around a pre-season heavily focused on fitness.
Yeah, I think it has been. I don't think the style of play has been neglected. I just don't think it's clicking yet. As been alluded to, there's 8, potentially 9 strangers now meeting each other for the first time, and you can't expect that to click overnight. So that might still come. I'm hoping that's still going to come. Fitness is a big thing for us. We went we went a year ago for being one of the fittest teams in Europe to not being able to struggle to complete 90 minutes, never mind 180 minutes twice in 1 week. So I think Michael Beale has had to focus on fitness a lot, and that'll show. I think it has shown a little bit already. The fact that he's, for example, the Olympiacos game, he wanted them to go in tired, he wanted them to feel that strain and that pain of going into a game tired, and that will have given him a good opportunity to assess the squad and how they react to that as well. So yeah, I think the telltale signs have been there that we have been focusing on fitness, and the style of play will come through practice. It'll come through playing with each other and getting to know each other on and off the pitch. You get to know these players off. You get to know your teammates off the pitch as well. I've seen people commenting in the comment section there about they were like this when Ange came in. It never clicked for them right away. And there is a degree of truth in that. CGM made a good comment. I saw it pass up there. That we probably are in a different situation.
Don't give CGM any credit because it goes straight to his head.
I know, but I'll credit where it's due. It was a good comment. That we probably can't afford to give them as much a head start. It's what they gave us that year because we for our own reasons weren't able to maintain that head start. Whereas I don't think they're going to have that problem this year. But I think back to the people been worried about the style of play. I think back to Gerrard's first season as well, and it was one of the first European games, one of the first qualifiers we were playing. Can't remember which one it was, and I remember watching as you could see the shape was there, but I remember the sharpness. I remember we were pinging passes to each other, and our players were struggling to control it. They were taking the first touch, trying to control the pass, and it was it was going 5, 6, 7, 8, 10 yards in front of them. And I was thinking to myself, we need to get a grip of this, or else we're going to lose a lot of second balls. And it came good eventually because they get used to that style of play. They used to training like that. I'm sure that will come under Michael Beale as well. We've got to give them that opportunity. We've got to give Michael Beale that opportunity to prove that to us. And he's only going to get one chance to prove it to us. He's only going to get not even the full season. If it's not working, he won't be there come the end of the season. He's got to make it work between now and Christmas. We've got to be perfectly honest with what Wilf mentioned about having put Greenock Morton out the cup and being in the Champions League, and I hope that as the situation we're in, of course it is. To be perfectly honest with you, I think we need to be winning the League Cup in December, and that will give us the marker, and that will give Michael Beale the right to continue this project into the second half of the season.
I think it's imperative that we win the League Cup. Was it Mourinho, Wilf, that said, win the first competition available because it sets the tone then for the rest of the season? Yep,
he did. I mean, until Mourinho came in, the English clubs didn't really give a monkeys about the big English clubs didn't give a monkeys about the League Cup. He came in and went to competitions. First one I can win, and I'm winning it, and he won it. And look where he went after that. It is winning breeds winning. I mean, we've brought in at least 9 new players so far, and we may well bring in 1 or 2 more now. None of those players will have experienced winning a trophy with Rangers because obviously they're just here. Quite a lot of the players we already have haven't experienced winning a trophy with Rangers. Now, I've never been a player that's won a trophy with anybody, right? But I could imagine, knowing how I feel as a supporter when Rangers win a trophy, these guys will never have experienced anything like that. So get the League Cup out the way, get that one. And as professional athletes, all they want to do is get more of that. They'll feel the adulation because how can you fail to? You'll be at Hampden, even if the final's against the other half of Glasgow, or the other third of Glasgow, to get it correct. There'd be 24,000 Rangers fans at Hampden.
I'll tell you, Wilf, who it won't be against. Dundee United.
No, it won't be against Dundee either. But yeah, so and they'll see the adulation they get from us. I mean, these new players we've got already, we'll be looking at it going, we've had pre-season friendlies. Ibrox was full against Newcastle, and okay, it's Alan McGregor's testimonial, right? And then we've got a game against Hamburg, and there's 45,000 at that. and then we've got Olympiacos, and there's 35,000 of that, and then there's 1,500 going to Germany on a Saturday at the end of July for what's effectively a kickabout. These guys will go, oh, this really is something different, and they'll realise just how different it is when they're waving shiny things at us, and the quicker they do that, the better. And once they've got a taste for that, they'll want more of it.
100%, 100%. I'm definitely going to finish tonight on a positive. But before we come to the positive, Ian, I suppose we have to discuss the negative. And so far, the main negative has been our defence. It looks shaky. I'm being polite. Leon Balogun obviously goes off with an injury. I've not heard the extent of that. Rangers are obviously being quite quiet on Goldson, on when he's going to return. I very much doubt, because he's not had any pre-season, that there's a 100% zero chance that he's playing against Kilmarnock. So that leaves us with Ben Davies, John Souttar, Dujon Sterling, who again has had injuries and hasn't really had much of a pre-season as far as I'm aware. Jean-Louis Waifeko, who is nowhere near ready to play first team football. John Lundstrom can slot back into defence. It's not really ideal preparation, and it's not really what you want to be getting in to the first game of the season with defensive-wise, is it?
No, it does feel a little bit like last season, doesn't it? When we're the defenders dropping here, there, and everywhere. Obviously, Goldson not being fit since the end of the season. It's a tough one for Saturday. I don't expect him to be there, but you know what Goldson's like. If he's anywhere near fit, he'll be demanded he plays.
There's zero chance Connor Goldson plays in Saturday.
Yeah, I don't see him playing, but you know what he's like. But you got to kind of think that your back four was going to be Tav, Davies if he's fit, Souttar, and Ridvan, because I can't have Barisic starting.
We'll come on to the left backs,
but it's not a good look at the minute. I mean, I don't know. I mean, have they confirmed anything about Balogun, whether it's injury or not? Because I know
I've not seen anything.
RTV, they were talking about it being possibly cramp, and that's why he's come off. But again, not confirmed on anything like that. If Balogun's fit, I would probably play him just because he's got the experience of being there. But we need at least one more in the door. Who that is, I don't know. I'm sure we'll talk about potential transfer potential in a minute, with one being linked elsewhere. And maybe two, depending on if the rumours of Davies going is true. So it's going to be at least another one or two centre-backs needed in the door.
Right now, Wilf, I am not letting Ben Davies go until we have at least one more centre-back through that door. We have Leon Balogun, who is good enough as backup, right? Especially for Scotland, he's good enough for backup, but again, suffers with injury problems. We have John Souttar, who has looked probably one of our best players in pre-season. Top quality centre-back, struggles with injury problems. We have Connor Goldson, who's been out for what seems like 10 years, who was never out before, who barely missed a game, who seems to now be picking up niggly injury problems. We have Leon King, who is not back yet from injury. So Davies isn't going anywhere until we get one, at least, new centre-back through the door.
Correct. I agree with that wholeheartedly. I do think we will bring in a centre-back. I mean, Michael Beale said at the weekend that there will be definitely players going out.
Ian, not even for Rangers.
No. And there may, he said, there'll definitely be players going out, and there may very well be one or two more coming in. I mean, he said that openly at the weekend, and I would expect at least one of the one or two to be a centre back. Even then, I'm not sure you'd move Ben Davies on. It depends on what deal, because obviously if we get my money back on him, then it's a no-brainer. But
I still don't see what the big hate is for Ben Davies. I think he's a cracking big defender.
I think he's a good big defender as well. But it depends who we bring in. If it's a similar sort of player, Ben Davies is going to want to play. If we bring in a defender that's similar to him, he's not going to play. I mean, the Goldson worries me, because as you rightly said, he started to pick up niggly little injuries. But it's not he's missing a game injuries. He's missing 3 or 4 weeks at a time. That's concerning because he seems to run the defence.
Mm-hmm.
I mean, I agree with you. There's absolutely no chance he plays against Kilmarnock. I mean, the manager said he'll be back in training on Thursday. So he'll be Thursday and Friday, not a chance he plays on Saturday. I'd be surprised if he's even at Kilmarnock on Saturday. I would expect him to still be at the training centre doing bits on his own, or he'll maybe hold Glenn Kamara's hand and do a few bits for him, while he's there. I would expect him to feature in the European game, though, as long as he's got no reaction to his injury. Especially with Leon King still being out, because we are very, very light at centre backs, and the European squad has to be in, I think, tomorrow or Wednesday. So, in which case, even if we sign a centre back, we can't use him in the qualifiers unless we bring him in before then.
Rangers on tour are saying Wednesday.
Yeah. So yeah. I mean, I don't get the hate behind Ben Davies either. I think he suffered a bit when he came in last season because Scottish football's odd.
He made a horrendous mistake against them. Well, he made a horrendous mistake.
And the reason he made the horrendous mistake for me is because he's used to having time to play the ball. He's a ball playing centre back, and he tried to keep the ball in play and start a move rather than going, well, this is here, I'm scared of stuff, I better get rid of this. Because the easy thing to do is to tap it out the park and give them a corner and just come back and defend that. To me, that's what he did. That was the mistake he made. He tried to overplay it. And you can't do that in Scotland. And he should have learned that by now because he's been here long enough. But it depends what we bring in. I think we will bring in another centre-back. I would expect Leon King to go out on loan, depending if he's fit before the loan window closes. Again, if we bring in another centre-back. But it's not so much the centre-back that bothers me. It's the dreaded the right back. It's the right back that started to bother me. Because the captain, much as I like James Tavernier,
came from. I apologise.
Much as I like James Tavernier, and James Tavernier's been great for us, the way he plays, he's getting older. As he gets older, he's getting slower, and he doesn't seem to be able to get back with the pace he got back previously. So when he's motoring up the field, they throw the ball behind him. He's getting caught out. He seems to be getting caught out a lot. It might just be the rustiness of folk beside him. It might be because we don't have settled centre backs in to cover him behind him. I don't really know. It may well be that if Ryan Jack plays regularly, he can cover him when he goes forward. It just seems that Tavernier's getting caught out a lot more than he used to, and he used to get caught out quite a lot. And because we lose the same goal all the time, it's always down the fullbacks. I mean, on Saturday, the targeted the left back. Ridvan had a shocker on Saturday. The rest of the pre-season that he's played, he's done okay. Tavernier, for me, hasn't had a good pre-season at all. So I'm a bit concerned about right back because hopefully Dejan Stirling can contest for the place and push the captain on, because I'd hate to see Tav leave under a cloud when he eventually does go, whenever that may be. But I'm just a bit concerned about the fullbacks at the moment.
Yes, fullbacks, Alan, is the big topic of conversation. However, it's not the right-sided fullbacks that seem to be getting the headlines amongst Rangers supporters. It's the left side, Borna and Ridvan. Now, my own personal opinion, I think there is a player in Yilmaz. I think you can see when he goes forward. What I like about him is he'll have the ball tight to that touchline and he'll try and make a 15, 20-yard pass along the deck right into the feet of either the midfielder or the attacker, and he's not scared to do it. He's not scared to try and take a man on. His final ball is nowhere near as good as Borna's, and his defending, yes, it needs a lot of work done to it, but he's not pushed off the ball as easy as what people maybe might have thought that he would be. If you're saying to me who starts on Saturday, Ridvan or Borna, I'm picking Ridvan. And I'm picking him 99.999 times out of 100 over Borna. Just my own personal opinion. I think there is an extremely good player there. And I think with a bit of time, a bit of patience, and a bit of consistency in the first team, I think you'll see that he's a class act, and I think he'll be a very good player for us.
Yeah, I agree. I think Ridvan's, right now for me, he's going to be the first choice, left back. Borna's, he's not cut it this pre-season. He's been off pace, he's been slow, he's been sloppy, he's gave the ball away. it's not been a good pre-season for him. So I think Yilmaz is earned the right to be in that starting slot. You've got to ask yourself a question about Sterling as well. Will Sterling play at left back at any point? If Ridvan does have a couple of bad games, which we know he is capable of. We saw that on Saturday. So, do we go for that third
Every
option?
player's capable of having a bad game.
Of course. But do we go with that third option at any point if we're starting to lose faith in him? I'm meaning, because I think there's more chance of Ridvan getting dropped and Sterling going to right back than there is of the captain getting dropped and Sterling playing at right back there. That's not to say I don't agree with Wilf because I do. I've got the same concerns that Wilf has, but I just don't see James Tavernier getting dropped. So Sterling came in to play back up to Tavernier for maybe a year, and then he might move on. I don't know. Or has Sterling came in with the promise that he's going to get games at either side of our defence, in which case I would expect maybe Barisic to leave, and Ridvan and Sterling to be battling out for that left back position. But right now, if you're asking me to pick the team for Saturday, it's Ridvan at left back, and Tav would still start at right back for me on Saturday. But as I say, there's question marks overall in defence. We could debate about every single one of them as individuals, probably for another hour. And who's good enough, who's not good enough, who we rate, who we don't rate. I think we're all in agreement though. We need to bring in at least one more centre back. And if we're not seriously considering our options for both full-back positions, then I would have question marks over what the Rangers coaching team have actually been watching in pre-season, because it ain't been the same as what we've been watching if they're no questioning that.
Again, though, Ian, Dujon Sterling is a player who we haven't really seen. We know Tav. We know what Tav's capable of. We know that Tav can play away at Kilmarnock on that horrible plastic pitch. I've seen a few comments saying that Tav looks as if he's on the slide, as if he's lost a wee yard of pace. I'm not sure. I think maybe, he's been pushed hard in pre-season. Obviously, as you get older, you maybe struggle with a bit more intensity. I think that might just be it for me personally. I think he's still good enough to be a right back. He's still good enough to play for us. And like CGM says, look, domestically, and this goes for obviously every Rangers player, but Ridvan won't be tested as much in games as what he would be against, Celtic or a European opposition. So yes, the defence needs a lot of work. Yes, we need reinforcements. But domestically, when it comes to the full-back area, I don't think we're as bad as what's been made out.
Nah, for most games in the SPFL, I think we're going to be fine, absolutely fine. Obviously, the bigger games, sort of away to Hearts, which is always I always in my head find as a tough place, but look back on results, it's not been quite like that. But Aberdeen away, obviously that lot across the road, they're the games that it might come into effect. But a lot of teams are going to see, he's a small guy, we'll just fire it at him. He is capable of dealing with it. He has dealt with it in games before now. Yeah, he had a bad day against Hoffenheim, but that first half they all did. So I've got no worries.
Ian, don't get me wrong, there's no excuse for a ball coming towards you and you take your eye off it and it goes under your feet. Right? There's no excuse for poor passing. There's no excuse for consistently getting caught out with the same ball every single time. I get that, and I get the arguments against Tav. I completely understand that. But my point is, I still think he's good enough.
Yeah, I think he's good enough. I mean, you can watch many a game and you can see the same mistake over and over and over again, but it's about how many times that mistake gets punished, and it doesn't get punished as much as he makes the mistake. He has got good recovery, and I've said it before as well. Where would we have been the last couple of years without him? So we'd be a lot worse. He's not as young as he was when he joined. Obviously, he's been there a while now. You do lose a little bit of pace. It happens to the best of them. And the SPFL will be fine. Might struggle a little bit more if we do make the Champions League, or even in the Europa League, you might struggle a little bit more because of the quality of opposition we're against. But I'm a fan of Tav. I like Tav. I'm not that I won't have a bad word against him. He wouldn't be man of the match every week just because I like him. But I think he's still capable of doing stuff in the SPFL. He's not as bad as people are making out, but he seems to be the constant target every single season, regardless. And I've even seen it to now that we're still having the he's not a captain debate in the comments. I've seen it. So he is the captain. He's going to be the captain, and he'll do at least another season, if not two. But I do agree. There's someone in there said that Sterling's not come to sit on the bench. But
No,
then it's
absolutely
up to
not.
him to prove that he is good enough to take over.
Yeah, absolutely. Let's finish on a massive positive, Wolf, shall we? Sam Lammers, who so far has been probably the best performer in pre-season, and he looks like somebody who is absolutely perfect for Scottish football.
I think Sam Lammers will score a bucket load of goals as long as he keeps getting the sort of service he's getting. I mean, by our own admission, we haven't particularly had a glowing pre-season, but Sam Lammers has looked outstanding. He's looked like a really good football player. So he keeps playing the way he's playing. He's going to score a cartload of goals in Scottish football. And I'd also like to say the same for the forgotten man of the summer signings, Kieran Dowell. I think he's going to score bucket loads of goals as well, just by the way he plays with what I've seen of him. So yeah, I mean, going forward doesn't worry me at all. I think we've got a lot more attacking options. I mean, we haven't had a goal scorer midfield player in a long time. I think now we've got two or three. Because are they midfield players or are they, attackers really? But they'll be coming through from the midfield. I think I'm expecting Dessers to get a few. I think Danilo, from the very little we saw of him on Saturday. I mean, the first ball he took out the sky, I just went, wow, he'll do for me. You know what I mean? If he keeps that up, then we'll want to watch with him as well. So yeah, I think that, I mean, Sam Lammers looks like a terrific player. Cifuentes, by all accounts, is a terrific player. So I think going forward, we're doing okay. And for the early part of the season, if it means we have to outscore teams, and obviously have to outscore teams to win, because I got picked up for that last season when I said that, because 1-0 means you're outscoring a team. But if we have to go back to what happened, a while ago when it was winning every game 3-2, if that's the way it's got to be until we sort the defence out, then that's fine. Just we score 2 or 3 goals in every game, we'll win those games. And that's all that matters until we can get the defence sorted. And then you're going to have games where it doesn't work and you're not scoring a lot of goals. That's when the defence comes in. Hopefully by that time we've sorted it out. They're keeping clean sheets. Because Jack Butland appears to me to be the sort of goalkeeper that is going to be very, very difficult to have as a teammate if he keeps losing goals. Because I don't think, being the keeper as he likes losing goals. So I think we'll be fine.
Yeah, 100% we will. Alan, final point to you, just again on Lammers, because I like to try and finish on a positive note. And I'm actually going to bring up a comment for Rangers on tour in a wee second once you've, spoke about it. Not only from a goal scoring point of view for me, with Big Sam. No, not that one. It's the skill, the technique, the ability to go past a man 7 times in the one movement. He just has that all-round technical ability that I think is going to be massive for us, especially when we come up against 40 guys at the back.
Yeah, absolutely. I think that's going to be more valuable to us than scoring goals. I think we've signed other players to be the goal scorer, the poacher, the guy in the box. I think Lammers is going to offer so much more with his technical ability, with his physicality. I think it's been a tremendous signing. I remember when we signed him, we had the conversations about his goal scoring record. We were spending so much money on a forward who had quite a poor goal scoring record, and I think we're seeing maybe why, because that's not necessarily his game. He will get goals because he will get into those positions from time to time as well. But his game is going to be so much more about linking up the play, getting the ball into the box, getting by players, getting the ball forward for his teammates, and if his teammates can get into the space for him, which I think they will be able to, I think that bodes well for us. And he's the type of player, he's the type of forward-thinking player, an attacking player that we've probably been missing a little bit. That final link. We've always had the midfield 3, if you like, and the 2 on the outside, and then typically Morelos in the middle. But we've now got that player that can link up with those 2 sections those two sections in the park for us. So I think that's a massive signing for us. It's certainly started well for them. As you say, it's not been the most positive pre-season, but if you're going to pick positives out, Sam Lammers is definitely one of those massive positives for us. So hopefully hopefully about it. If it was me, he would probably be one of the first names in the team sheet on Saturday. And then going forward, even into the European games next week, I think that would be he'll be playing. He'll be a massive part of that. And if we do reach the Champions League group stages in a couple of weeks' time, I think Sam Lammers will be played a massive part in that.
Like I say, I think he's perfect for Scottish football, but he's also perfect for Europe. He's just perfect, Big Sam. Just finally then, by the way, as you can see at the bottom of the screen, don't forget to like and subscribe if you enjoy the content. If you want Daily Rangers content, if you want Daily Rangers Rabble content, then you can sign up to our Patreon, the link for which is in the description, for Daily Rangers shows and so much more. Rangers on tour, Iain, finally finishing up with the racehorse in Canada called Penalty to Rangers. Did you see this?
I did see this. I put this in the group earlier on. I said, I'm not a horse racing guy. I'm not a horse racing guy, but from now on, that's my favourite horse.
I know. I never bet, right? Because I don't even understand odds, if I'm being brutally honest with you. But if I see that, then
you put a pound to a bookie, and he gives you odds, and you lose a pound. That's pretty much how it works.
Right. Oh, so you lose the money. Right. Fair enough. We didn't have time to talk about Dessers. We didn't have time to talk about Danilo. We didn't have time to talk about Fashion Sakala. All that will be spoke about on Friday at 7:30 when we'll be right back here for the Rangers Rabble podcast. Of course, like I said, on the Patreon, we have Daily Rangers shows, including an extra 2 live shows a week. So, my thanks to everybody for watching.
Before we go, Martin,
I just finished my wee prologue, whatever you call it. You do this to me every week, Wilf. I'm on a roll. I know what I'm going to say, and then you go. And I forgot what I was going to say, so you jump in, Will.
Right, okay. I know we've gone a bit over the time we normally do this, but it's very remiss of us not to mention a certain Glasgow Cup final from Saturday that we'll be talking about shortly on the pod that's coming out tomorrow, when the Rangers women team under new head coach Joe Potter were a goal down to a certain other women's team from Glasgow, and not Glasgow City, the other one. In the 92nd minute, they were a goal down, and by the 99th minute, they'd won the cup. So, congratulations to the Rangers women's team, and those of you on Patreon will get to hear all about it tomorrow when Martin puts the pod out that we're going to be recording very shortly. So, congratulations to the Rangers women. Always good to beat them. Even better to beat them when they're a goal up 2 minutes into stoppage time.
Epilogue. Thank you, CGA. Thank you very much. I was on fire, right? I was on a roll. It was going to be one of the greatest epilogues that the Rangers Rabble's ever had, and you just cut right across me. So yeah, thank you everybody for watching. And like Wilf says, the Rangers Women's Show will be out on Patreon tomorrow, 9:00 tonight on Patreon. For the Rabble Directors tier, you will get my favourite tops. My favourite shirts, Brian Fotheringham's show. He welcomes James Davidson on. And all that's left for me to do is say thank you very much for watching. We greatly appreciate nearly 600 people watching live on a Monday night. It is greatly appreciated. So thank you, Wilf. Thank you, Alan. Thank you, Iain. Thank you, everybody, for watching. And we'll speak to you all again very, very soon.